For Creamer Media's Policy, I'm Sashnee Moodley. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
What is at stake in the Hawks calling in Pravin Gordhan and other SARS officials?
You know, I feel we've been here before. I think this is something with which politicians, the public, the media with which they're very familiar. And the broad outlines are that the Treasury is a government, State Department, which has a level of professionalism, the way they conduct their work, which is in some ways exemplary, and they monitor whether there's conformity with the Public Finance Management Act, a number of other pieces of legislation in the case of government departments, state-owned enterprises and so on. And before certain money is spent or certain contracts are entered into, the Treasury has to approve. Now, the context at the present moment is that you have a number of state-owned enterprises who have been in breach of regulations or have wanted to do things which the Treasury have not been willing to sign off on. When Pravin Gordhan became Minister of Finance, he also said he wanted the boards of certain state-owned enterprises to be renewed, and in particular South African Airways. South African Airways is practically going into liquidation. Hong Kong has said more or less that unless something is done, unless their books are in order, they will not be able to use that landing facility. And that is a disaster for South African Airways, because Hong Kong is a very important gateway to other destinations. So you've got this problem where on the one hand Gordhan is doing his job as Minister of Finance, but on the other hand there are some people who wish to see deviations from the regulations and wish to give contracts on the side to this person or that person, or pay more for something than is supposed to be the payment, and consequently there's pressure on Gordhan and on the Treasury, and they will not succumb to this. Now, some months ago, or about a year or more ago, there was an alleged scandal exposed by the Sunday Times about what was called a rogue unit in South African Revenue Service, SARS, at the time when Pravin Gordhan was there, and they purported to expose this and to claim that it was carrying out illegal intelligence. The people who were alleged to have done this were never interviewed. So there was a whole lot of irregular ways in which that story actually arrived in the Sunday Times. Subsequently, the press ombud, Johan Retief, I think his name is, said that the article was not correct. The articles were not correct, not correctly sourced, so forth, and that they would have to apologize. A new editor came in, and the new editor made a full-page withdrawal of the allegations made in the stories and apologized for what the Sunday Times had done, etc., etc. So the Sunday Times, which is one of the original sources of the story, has distanced itself from it. Now, the Hawks at a certain point this year threatened Gordhan, wrote him a letter with a series of questions, and this was at the time when he was about to give his budget. And now we have seen they wanted him, Ivan Pillay, and a number of other former officials of SARS to present themselves to Hawks headquarters to get a formal warning, make a formal warning statement, read them their rights prior to charging them, is usually how it's done. And Gordhan took legal advice, which was to the effect that he should not present himself. Now, my feeling is this is not just a case of the police doing their job, you know, gathering their evidence carefully, what they call Mr. Policeman plod, you know, the very efficient police gathers evidence carefully, builds a case, and then leads to a charge. This, I think, relates to the people who stand to benefit from the removal of Gordhan being close associates of the president, and people who are allegedly enriching themselves or proven to have enriched themselves through irregularities. And it goes in the context also of the president being given charge of oversight of state-owned enterprise in the last week, so that, in a sense, he can set off the power of the Treasury even without this.
Is this not strange behavior after the ANC suffered such setbacks in the local government elections?
You see, it is strange behavior in the sense that the ANC, it appears, lost a lot of the votes that they lost as a result of people seeing events on a national level affecting their lives. Everyone has concluded that the role of President Zuma was one of the factors leading to the drop in the ANC support. But the ANC National Executive, when it met, did not really they didn't put the question of President Zuma on the table. And President Zuma has shown that he is fairly indifferent to the fate of the rand, the fate of the economy, what happened after the firing of Nhlanhla Nene. He's fairly indifferent to it. He says it's normal market fluctuations, and that Des van Rooyen would have been the best finance minister South Africa had ever had. You see, he has got a master's degree in something, and Gordhan has got a pharmacy degree, so therefore Des van Rooyen would have made the best finance minister. The fact that he made these statements gives one a sense that he's not concerned with the gravity of what happened. What he's concerned about is personal enrichment, in my view, and insofar as Gordhan is a barrier and the Treasury is a barrier, he wants to undermine them. One of the ways of doing this is through the actions of the hawks. So the actions of the hawks is, in my view, an undermining of constitutionalism, due process, and is a misuse of power.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Policy about why the hawks are moving against Gordhan.